Hi, my name is Jim Keaty, and I'm running for Asbury Park City Council with the A-Team. Ramon Palmer, Dwayne Small, Danny Harris, and Dr. Nora Highland. There's a lot of excitement currently about the City Council campaign, and in the remaining days that we have left, I really want to try and refocus voters' attention on the issues that absolutely matter here in Asbury Park. And one of the most important issues that we plan to deal with as a City Council is the crime issue here in Asbury. When we've been out talking to voters over the course of the past few months, whether those voters are black, brown, or white, whether they live on the east side or the west side, whether they are rich or poor, crime is always at the top of the agenda of things that citizens want the City Council to deal with. Now, if we look at the record of the Forward Asbury team, they've been in office for 12 years, and they have done relatively nothing to address the crime issue and the root causes of the crime issue here in Asbury Park. In the time that the Forward Asbury team has held office under the leadership of Deputy Mayor John Lafredo, Councilman Kevin Sanders, Councilwoman Sue Henderson, the aggregate crime rate in Asbury Park has not changed for major crimes in the course of that 12 years. If we look at just the murders here in town, when you look at the fact that in 2006 there were 44 confirmed shootings and 6 murders, and here we are 7 years later with more than 60 confirmed shootings and 5 unsolved murders, it is absolutely clear that the Forward Asbury team has buried their head in the sand on this issue. They have no plan to deal with crime, and they just are completely ineffective. So what are we going to do? Before I get into the specifics of what the A-team will do to deal with the crime, I just want to give you a sense of why there needs to be change at City Hall. When I was on City Council from 2005 to 2008, in 2006, we had a murder outside of our middle school. It was Wednesday, October 18th. Tyleek Pugh was murdered at 11 a.m., a block outside of our middle school. When I came to the City Council meeting that night and sat down with my former colleagues, including Deputy Mayor Lafredo, including Councilman Kevin Sanders, I said, we need to be doing something about this. Well, when I first walked into the meeting, do you know what they were talking about? Waterfront redevelopment. We had one of our teenagers murdered outside of our middle school in broad daylight earlier that day, and the thing that Lafredo and Sanders wanted to talk about was waterfront redevelopment. Now, when I said to them, we've got to dig in and start to address this issue, Kevin Sanders' response to me was, Jim, it's the Hatfields and McCoys. You're never going to solve it. Really? Is that what we're supposed to tell the family of the young man that died in the street that day? Is that what we're supposed to tell to the parents of the kids that have to walk those children to school every day and they're afraid of the shootings and the violence in our streets? Is that what we tell the homeowners that are paying exorbitant tax rates, or the business owners and entrepreneurs that have come here to invest in Asbury Park and have staked their lives on trying to make a living here in our city? Is that what Deputy Mayor Lafredo and Councilman Sanders are going to tell them? It's the Hatfields and McCoys. We're not going to solve it. We had another shooting that year. Jakima Kelly shot on Springwood Avenue, ran down DeWitt Avenue, running for his life. He died right in front of the Westside Community Center. Later that week, we had a city council meeting. The number of ministers and community leaders came to that meeting. They wanted action. They were angry, but they wanted to be proactive. So I recommended to my colleagues at the time, I said, look, I want to put a motion on the floor that we will set aside $250,000 out of the Community Development Fund. At the time, there's about $1.2 million in that fund. And these community leaders can come back to us in the coming weeks and months and give us plans of action for how they want to address these issues. And if we think those plans of action have merit, we can fund them with that money. I could not get John Lafredo or Kevin Sanders to put a second on the motion just to discuss it. Why? Because petty politics was more important, particularly to John Lafredo, than dealing with this crime issue and dealing with the fact that we have young black men being shot and murdered in our streets. That's the reality at the moment. That reality needs to change. So what would we do? What would the A-team do? What would Keaty, Palmer, Small, Harris, and Highland do on this issue? We would bring a number of programs into Asbury Park that are successful in other areas around the country. We'd take those programs, we would adjust them so that they met the needs of Asbury Park, and we would staff them with people that know our kids, know our streets, and can deal with this issue. One of the programs is the AmeriCAN program. It's one of the most successful gang intervention programs in the U.S. right now. Another program is the Getting Out and Staying Out program. It's very successful in New York City in breaking the reincarceration cycle for men coming in and out of prison. Men that go through that program in New York have an 80% success rate in staying out of prison once they've gone through the program. We also want to bring something like the High Point Initiative to Asbury Park. In High Point, North Carolina, they had very similar crime and social and economic demographics to what we have in the southwest quadrant of Asbury. And what they did there, the police chief took a step back. He said, look, we're not going to arrest our way out of this problem. We need to be dealing with this in a different way. And he created an initiative that is now known nationally as the High Point Initiative. We don't need to reinvent the wheel with what's successful in dealing with gangs and guns and crime and murder. We just need to make a commitment to execute those programs with the best possible people and the best possible resources that we have available here in the city of Asbury Park. The other thing that we need to do is get at the underlying issue of what is driving the crime in Asbury, and that's poverty. 30% of our citizens live below the poverty line, another 20% live just above it. We have a median household income in Asbury Park of only $30,000 a year. The median household income for the state of New Jersey is $68,000 a year. The unemployment rate nationally is about 7.6%. In Asbury, it's about 11.4, 40% higher than the national rate. So until we get real about addressing poverty, about getting people into a real jobs program where people are being paid living wages and they have a real opportunity and we can counter the quote-unquote opportunity of the streets, then we're just going to be spinning our wheels and trying to eliminate the crime, the gang, the guns, and the murders in Asbury. Now, what we want to do with regard to jobs and getting at the economic and the social issues is we want to work with our local trade unions and our school system to bring an industrial arts program back to Asbury. We want an opportunity for kids in Asbury Park who maybe do not want to go to college to have a chance to learn a skill, a trade, so when they come out of school, when they come out of high school, they are ready to work, and they're ready to work in fields that are paying good wages. We also want to work with the state of New Jersey, with the local trade unions, certainly with the local government that we will be a part of here in Asbury Park, to bring about what are called project labor agreements. And those are for infrastructure projects that the city might be building out. They could be for redevelopment projects on the waterfront, in our downtown, Main Street, and Springwood Avenue. And part of those project labor agreements will include that local people and local contractors are getting opportunity to have access to the construction jobs that are going to be available when those projects get built out. And we want to make sure that those jobs are paying good wages so that, again, people have opportunity. That is what we are committed to. We're committed to stemming the tide of violence by effectively dealing with the criminality, and more importantly, we're 100% committed to getting to the root cause, giving people economic opportunity so they have a real choice. The only way that this can happen is if you vote our team, the A team, into City Hall on May 14th. We are asking for your vote. Myself, Jim Keady, Ramon Palmer, Dwayne Small, Danny Harris, and Dr. Nora Hyland. Thanks, and have a great day.